everyone, today I'll be reviewing my new 4.0 Reimagined MOC BREEZ. Here's what BREEZ 4.0 actually looked like. Unfortunately, as I'm sure you've noticed, I had to skip 1 week due to the fact that I didn't have all the necessary parts required to build BREEZ, and also because she took about 6 hours to build, and so I had to do that over the span of a few days, and so it just took a while to get her completely finished. Here's just a real quick size comparison. Here's Evo 4.0 Reimagined right next to BREEZ. As you can see, they're basically the same exact height. And here's Voltex 4.0 Reimagined. As you can see, he's a little bit taller than her. And Evo is just about exactly average, at least when concerning the heroes. And so that means that BREEZ is just right on par, exactly average. Let's go ahead and dive right into the review, starting with the legs. My favorite design choice on the legs has to be the red Bionicle jet pieces, because I believe BREEZ was the only 4.0 hero who had jet boots, and so I wanted to be sure to incorporate that design choice on my MOC, and so that's why I went with those jet pieces. And I really like the overall design. It is kind of odd to me, though, how the actual BREEZ 4.0 set had red, white, and green as her color scheme. That was always kind of an odd choice to me, but of course I had to incorporate that in with the white legs with the red undertones like the actual set had. And the legs were actually quite difficult to design just because I was running out of pieces near the end of the build, and so it was a little bit hard. I had to be very selective with what pieces I used just to make sure I could duplicate the leg design. You'll see these pulley wheels in almost every one of my MOCs just because they're such a useful piece, and so I try to incorporate them as much as possible because I just really like that piece in general. As you can see, the legs are kind of heavily dependent on Lego pieces, unfortunately, and that's also because I was running out of pieces, because I've already built Stormer 4.0 Reimagined, and as you can imagine, he's a very big MOC and he uses a lot of white, and so this is basically all that I have left over. But I really do like the leg design. It might be lacking in some places, like right here. I probably should have put a cap, but I didn't want to break the color scheme by putting gray there, and so I just left those uncovered, and I don't think they look too bad. The body definitely took the largest amount of time. I would like to say it took about 3 hours to build, which that was quite a while to be sitting there and working on the body. It actually got quite frustrating after a while. You may notice I used quite a number of Lego pieces around the edges, and that's just to round off the edges, the sharp edges mainly. Now, I know some people prefer not to really mix Lego and Hero Factory and Bionicle, but I think it works pretty well, especially for this MOC in specific, but I'd personally like to mix Lego and Bionicle because I think Lego can really finish off the places that Bionicle pieces might not necessarily be able to work as well. I really like the use of Toxic Reaper's head back here too. That's another design that I really like. The panels back here that are in the V shape, those were actually last minute, and those have been some of my favorite designs, or those are some of my favorite designs. I also put some vents right here and right there just to finish off and to cover some colors that I didn't exactly want to show through. I know the core is kind of sticking up at an upward angle, and that is a little bit weird because all the other heroes, their cores have been facing straight, but I think that's kind of interesting if just one hero has their core angled in a different direction. I think that does make her unique. I like the shoulder plates also. Those look really good too, and the corroder spikes on the back, I really like those also. If you're wondering where all the lime green came from, it came from that new Lego Technic Mustang in lime green. I bought that just to make BREEZ, and it's worked out very well. So if you're looking to make a lime green MOC, I would suggest buying it. And last but not least, we have the arms. Breeze always had an interesting weapon set to me because she had the sword and the shield and also Meteor Blaster. Besides Rocka, she was the only one in 4.0 who had a shield, and she was the only one who had a shield and a sword. And so she always had kind of an interesting weapon set to me. Now, it's always kind of odd how the gun arm, or the sword and the gun weren't switched, because I think it would have been better if her sword and her shield were on opposite arms, because then she would be able to strike with the sword and block with the shield. But I guess it does make sense that she could block with the shield and also shoot. But I don't know, there are tactical advantages to both ways, but it always made more sense to me having the sword and the shield on opposite arms. As you can see, I elaborated a lot on the Meteor Blaster by giving her 4 barrels and then 2 underbarrels right there. The 2 underbarrels are grenade launchers, and then these 4 barrels all shoot the same shotgun round, probably buckshot or maybe a slug. And why I made them all shoot the same round is just because it'd be impractical if each barrel had a different caliber, just because you would either have to have 4 ammo belts or 4 magazines coming out of each barrel. And so I think it would just be more practical if she had one set type of ammo. And then she has a little scope on top, or either that or you can see it as a laser sight. One of my favorite designs on this arm is definitely the use of the jumper right there, just to give her a little bit of extra padding on the elbow. And then I put a wire right there to wrap around to the gun, just because it looks cool. The arms, or the biceps, they both have the same design, but then the forearm varies slightly from arm to arm, just because this arm has to connect the shield, and it has a little tank right there, and that arm obviously has the jumper over there, so that's just the only variable. This arm has a tank instead of the jumper, and it also doesn't have a wire, and it has a shield. So there are multiple variables, but the shield also is extended. As you can see, I used 2 shield pieces rather than 1, just to make the shield a little bit longer. And the swords are just slightly lengthened, and that really doesn't raise any tactical advantage besides them being slightly longer. And the bicep is designed obviously the same as the other one, like I've already mentioned, except for this one has that little inverted cone piece and this one doesn't. I think I actually just forgot to add the inverted cone, but I'll go back and do that after the review. As you can see, I used 3 pulley wheels on each arm, and so I believe that brings it up to a grand total of 10 that I used when making Breeze. And if you don't have those pieces and you're a MOC builder, they are very useful. You can make miniguns easily, and also you can just use them to cap off limbs. They're a very, very useful piece in my opinion. And, well, that's really all I have to say about her arms. As always, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you're a long-time subscriber and you've been watching 4.0 Reimagined, you know that this means that there are only 2 more 4.0 Reimagined builds. And so that means next week, or maybe a little longer, just depending on how long it takes me to design him, Rocka should be reviewed by next week.